Hello my dears, this is Sarah from sheholdsdearly.com, and today I am continuing my slipcover and upholstery series for you. We will be talking about how to do basic slip covering and actually add in piping as well. Alright, so truth be told, I've been kind of dragging my feet on this one. I don't know, I just feel like it's too easy that I am like repeating myself too much on how to, because I did do a video on how to make a slipcover for a Parsons chair with no pattern, and it is the same idea. It's the exact same idea. But I keep getting messages from people going, oh, we're so excited, like we're halfway through our projects, we want you to finish your slipcovers and upholstery series. And so I feel like I owe you this because you're halfway through your projects. And I also haven't shown you how to incorporate piping, so we're going to talk about that. And then I feel like just explaining the slipcover process is valuable over and over again, because once you know how to do this, you can do full-on sectionals with this exact same method. You can do your couch, you can do benches, and any type of chair. This is gold for the DIY decorator. So it's worth going over again. We're going to cover piping, and I'm going to help you hopefully finish your projects. So to date, I have taught in this series how to make custom piping, which makes everything more beautiful, more elegant, more fitted, and just gives good structure to the slipcover that you're making. I've covered how to replace the actual foam, and I have talked about simple upholstery, which in this case, since we're redoing my recliners, in this case I reupholstered the footrests on the recliners. And I mean, some people like make cute little slip covers with like elastic and stuff. Honestly, like slip covers are good when that's nothing else you can do. But you know, they get wrinkly. There's reasons to not love slipcovers, so if you don't have to do slipcovers, don't do it. That's why I went ahead and truly upholstered the footrest. And if they did get muddy or something, and they are white, we have a farm and animals and everything, but if I really did have someone like put their muddy boots on them, I would simply just rip off that piece of fabric and recover it, or just even put fabric right over the top of that. I have done that with dining room chairs before. So it's not a big deal. I actually think the upholstery part of it is a lot simpler than doing true slipcover on your footrest. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the arms here. All right, I do want to address a couple things that have come up in this process that I am going to kind of tweak what I've said in the earlier videos. So one of the things was I added foam. The foam needed to be replaced in this recliner. And so I added foam in and didn't account for needing so much to come down over the front here. And just kind of carved out the piece, like the little lip that needed to go down over the wooden frame here. If you saw the video, I actually duct taped it down and then thought once I pulled this fabric over and stapled it down that it would all be held down. Now since then, it has kind of popped up. It has popped up, and I can see it. There's like that sharp edge there. I'm really annoyed with that. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to take this up and maybe add in another strip of foam, or I could, maybe it just won't bother me once I have the slipcover on it. I don't know, but I did want to share with you that was a rookie move on my part, and what I really should have done, and what you should do, is to buy an extra big piece of foam so you actually have plenty to pull it down. Okay, the other problem that I've been running into is and this is a huge reason why this video has taken so long to actually get out, is that I'm having trouble sourcing these antique hemp sheets that I still really like them. I think they're really soft and beautiful and so, you know, like nostalgic, but I keep ordering them off eBay. I get them in, they are the wrong texture. Some of the sellers are not nice about returns, even though they don't mention that it's going to be a problem. it's one in particular was really stressful to return with, and I went through, I think I ordered like 4 different sets, and they came in and they were too thin or too thick. It's just so hard to buy fabric online, even hemp sheets, which you would think would be kind of straightforward, but it's not. So I finally actually gave up on sourcing hemp sheets for this project, and I just went with my favorite linen, which I get at Joann's, and I will I'm gonna link this for you because I love this fabric. It's probably my favorite fabric actually for decorating, especially for slipcovers. This is what I have on my Parsons chairs, and actually that video you can watch. It is almost identical to what I'm gonna show you today. So don't let me bore you, but the difference with this video is I'm gonna add in piping. All right, the first thing we're gonna do, let's see, I'm gonna take off. This is where they wear out, and it happens on all 4 arms of my chair. So we are going to replace these today. The first thing we're gonna do is whatever you're doing, you wanna think in sections, and you need to cut a piece of fabric that will cover it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be big enough. And I like a 1-inch seam allowance, so I need an extra inch all the way around. So let's see. I washed this linen. I'm gonna do one big piece that comes up this side and then down into the inside. And I'm not gonna worry about the bottom edge. It's like putting a skirt on something. It's the last step I'm gonna do. I'm going to call this section its own piece. And then I made some custom piping, which I have in an earlier video for you. But I'm gonna get this big piece figured out right now. So you just take your fabric and literally shape it over the piece that you want to cover, that you want to slip cover. And then I'm just gonna cut off and you know what, another thing I like to do, as I'm going along, I will just pin my piece of fabric right into the upholstered. Get a better idea of the shape. I'm gonna give myself more than 1 inch along the bottom, like 2.5 inches along the bottom, just in case, because that can really burn you in the end. And one thing that I do want to mention with the arms on with the arm linen recliner is that this piece I'm going to make, you're making your pieces inside out. So it's not a problem, but just so you know, if there was a pattern involved, you might actually want to know this. This piece I'm making right now is actually, once we get it done and we turn it inside out, it's gonna belong on this arm. So you're not pulling out and cutting fabric that you're gonna need in the future. And now, I'm going to run my pen straight up the back, and this is gonna be exactly where I sew, okay? So where my seam is gonna go. Now, before I close up this piece, I want to, because we've got this baggy area right here. We're actually going to shape that first. So I want it smooth on the top. And I'm just going to basically put in a pleat right here. So it comes under here. It's gonna make a nice little line. All right, so we're gonna stitch that up and trim it, and that is gonna look very fitted and beautiful. All right, now I'm feeling better about coming back here and closing off. Okay, I am going to show you the front of this arm now. Just gonna leave 1 inch. All right, now the front is where we start to add, this is where I'm gonna teach you how to add piping. So I have a strip that's going to fit here. So you see it, you just use rectangle pieces, and it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to, you just need to get started. Now here, I'm gonna go ahead and I have my custom piping. The finished look is going to be the side, the bump that is the piping, and then the face of it. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna start down here at the bottom, because I don't have enough piping, I have to splice this together, which isn't a bad thing for me to show you how to do. Normally I would tell you to start up at the top and work your way down, but I'm gonna have to splice this, and I don't want to splice it twice. So here we go. You're going to put your piping, you want that the bump side, in. And I tip it in a little bit so that it catches, it gives this really nice, let me show you a finished look. This is how you take care of the ends. You want them, see how this is like tucked into the seam right there? I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that I'm pulling this side in just a tiny bit so I get this look when I'm done. Okay, so I'm gonna pop that in and then angle it and make sure that I pin it right there. Then I take the outside, are we good? I take so the piping is right there, right where I want it to pop up. So, and I'm matching it actually to the one on the chair, so that's easy enough. And then I bring this front piece in and I pin it. And I'm gonna pin it right inside that bump. So the pin is gonna go along this stitching all the way around. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish drawing the lines, pinning everything in place, making a little sandwich as we go. So every time I'm pinning, I'm readjusting the fabric. I'm trying to make it nice and tight and have that piping show up exactly where we want it. But keep tightening. You do want a nice tight slip cover that'll look really professional. So every time you add a pen, tighten everything up a little bit. All right, I actually, yay, had just barely enough for my piping. That might be a tiny bit short, but like maybe half an inch short, so I'm not worried about that. I feel like I may have told you wrong in the beginning, so I'm correcting what it means to have those finished edges. You want to pull it towards you. In this step, you want to have it sticking out, and that will translate into that it's sticking inside when you actually go to sew it. Now, if I were going to splice it, I would pull this part out and pin it in place so that that end would be tucked in when I stitch. And then I would just simply do the same thing with the next piece, make sure that a little bit of that is sticking out, pin that in place, and then just keep on going. That's how you splice it together. All right, so next step is we are going to trim off the excess here. So don't get too close to your pins, but I'm gonna come within like an inch of where my stitching is gonna be, just kind of clean it up. And then we're gonna go to the sewing machine. All right, the moment of truth. I am going to fit this on the chair and see how it looks. Now, the last time I did this, years ago when I made these original slip covers, I went ahead and trimmed the seams real close, like maybe a 1/4 inch next to the stitching. I kind of regret that. I may still trim these, but what happened was when I went to wash the slip covers, they would fray a little bit, and then pretty soon I had these gaps all over where the seam was I didn't have enough seam allowance. I am happy enough with how it fits that I am not gonna go back and do the seam allowances. So this is hemp, although this is hemp, and it is looking a little more white next to my cream linen, but I don't care. I'm done trying to find more hemp sheets, and I think that it's laying flat enough that I'm not gonna worry about trimming the seams. I think it's gonna hold up better, and I wash my slip covers about once a month with our family, or I should. So I do need to hold up. All right, the last part I need to do is go ahead and add my seam. So what I'm gonna do actually, and I haven't done it this way before, but I'm gonna go along and I'm gonna feel the actual edge, maybe like 1/2 inch below the actual edge where I want this to end, and I'm gonna put my pins there, and then that way that will be my guide, and then I'll cut and roll and iron that in place and stitch it. So I'll show you what I mean. But I feel like if I'm not gonna actually pin my stitch line for this step, I'm gonna pin my goal. All right, I think we are done. So that took about an hour to make one cover for one arm. Only 3 to go. All right, so that is how one makes a slipcover with piping. I now need to finish the rest of this. It's gonna be really one big piece that fits over the seat and the back of the recliner. And that's the secret with recliners, is you have to slip cover it in pieces. So we've reupholstered the footrest, we've replaced the foam, we made our piping, we slip covered the armrest, and now we'll slip cover this last piece so that the chair can continue to move and act like a recliner. Before you go, be sure to click on the link in the description to grab your access password to get into my subscriber library for more DIY projects and printables and all kinds of things in it. All right, thank you so much for stopping by, and if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I do post regularly and I share my DIY design advice and our vintage farm life. All right, take care, and I will talk to you soon.